Hey everybody, it's me, Mr. Farina. I'm here to talk to you guys about the races strategies. So as you can see, there's a little guy here, and he's setting the race, right? So that's what we're talking about today, is the race strategy when it comes to writing. Let me see here. Okay, so what is a race strategy? And this is in the little handout you guys have in your reader's notebook, but I'll just go over it real quick. It's the race strategy teaches you to do what good writers do naturally. It can help you answer short response questions. It helps you maintain a formal style and make sure you are answering all parts of the question with lots of detail. Using the race strategy will almost guarantee your answer is complete. Race stands for, so we're going to talk about now, R, restate the question. So the R stands for restate the question. Turn the question into a statement to introduce your paragraph. So an example, if the question says, how can students improve their study skills? So how can students improve their study skills? Well, we would start it by answering the question, right? Students can improve their study skills by, so we're just restating it, right? Can students improve their study skills? Students can improve their study skills by, like all we're doing is flipping a couple words, and it makes for the beginning of our answer. How can students improve their study skills? Students can improve their study skills by, all I'm doing is adding by at the end, right? And I'm getting rid of the question at the beginning, like the how. The next part is the A, stands for answer all parts of the question. Keep in mind that there may be more than one part to the question. So a lot of times questions have a couple of different parts. You have to make sure you're answering all parts of it. C stands for cite the text to support your answer. And that just means you're going to use text evidence. And when you're doing that, you need to support your answer evidence from the text. If you use a direct quotation, use quotation marks. Make sure to introduce your evidence with a phrase like, for example, according to the text. So those are things you can use when you get to this part. These are like kind of like our transition words that help in your writing. Or the author states that. That's another one we can use. For E, we have explain your situation. Elaborate on why your textual evidence helps you prove your point. So you're going to use phrases like, this example shows how, or this quotation proves that. So those are a couple. Now the S, which is something we added at the end, is to sum it up. It's just one sentence that restates the original question. And it's actually, it's one of the shorter sentences, so hopefully we can get through that one without any issues. All right, so this is the text we have for this. It's called field trips. This is like our first sample one. So in your handout, you have it. It'll say, field trips. Do you like to go on field trips? Many students love to leave the classroom and see something new. Field trips can teach students something about the real world, too. A trip to the aquarium is a great way to observe and learn about sea life. And a trip to the art museum can teach kids about famous painters. These experiences are memorable and fun. Some people say that kids should be in the classroom to learn, but it's also possible that they can learn when they are on a field trip. So that's our little text. That's just a little sample text. And this is the question it says. Use the race strategy, or races strategy, to answer the following question, using the checklist as you write. So how would your class benefit from a field trip? Explain using reasons from the text. So remember, we're going to start with, that's our question. We're going to pull out step one, which is R, and that was restate the question. So how would your class benefit from a field trip? We're just going to restate the question. I'm going to say my class would benefit from a field trip by, right? That's all I'm doing, it's adding the by. So my class would benefit from a field trip by, and that's just step one. We already got the R done with. You see, that's probably going to be like the quickest one for us to do because we don't have to really make up too many words. We're just going to use this question and just flip a couple words out. Get rid of the how and kind of answer it, right? So instead of how would your class benefit, I'm going to say my class would benefit from a field trip by, so I'm just adding by at the end. All right, now step two is answer all parts of the question. So now I need to answer the question. So how would my class benefit from a field trip? We just read that little passage, right? And it talked about, well, if we're going to see what it talked about, we're going to go back to it, right? And it says, do you like to go on field trips? Many students love to leave the classroom and see something new. Field trips can teach students something about the real world. Two, a trip to the aquarium is a great way to observe and learn about sea life, and a trip to the art museum can teach kids about famous painters. So it's kind of talking about experiences and how memorable and fun they are, right? So that's what we're going to focus on when we're answering the question. So my class would benefit by learning about things in a different environment from the classroom, right? That's what we're kind of doing. That's what it kind of sums it up a little bit. That's answering our question. So how do kids benefit? Well, they benefit by being in a different environment. They're not just in the classroom. They're out experiencing these things, right? You can also say something like, by giving us a chance to see things in the real world, kind of like it says in the text. There's numerous ways you can answer this, a bunch. This is just one I chose, learning about things in a different environment from the classroom. So now we're on step 3. We're going to cite the text to support our answer. Because it is good that we have our own ideas and opinions, but at the end, we want to look back at the text and use our evidence to make our opinion even stronger. So to cite the text to support your answer, I'm going to use one of the passage or the ways to start it. So like according to the text, or in the text it says, that's what we're going to use. One of these starters, sentence starters, for when we're quoting from the text. So I'm going to use according to the text. And let's look at my text again. I just read it a second ago. And this is a good sentence here. A trip to the aquarium is a great way to observe and learn about sea life, right? And a trip to the art museum can teach kids about famous painters. So this is a big sentence that I can use, or I can use just part of it for my citing textual evidence. Because this is my proof, right? It says that I can learn about sea life. And a trip to art museum, I can learn more about famous painters. So that's kind of what we're working on. I mean, you can even talk about how it says experiences are memorable and fun. This whole passage, a lot of it can be used. But that was a good sentence I chose. A trip to the aquarium is a great way to observe and learn about sea life. And you know what? I got cut off here. One sec. There we go. It's a great way to observe and learn about sea life. And notice that I didn't write the whole sentence, right? I left the part out where it talked about the painter. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to put these ellipses. And it's just these 3 dots in a row. Dot, dot, dot. That means the sentence continues. But I'm stopping it here because this is enough for me to prove my argument. I don't need to write the whole sentence. And notice that when I did quote, I put a comma, quotation mark, and I ended it in a quotation mark. So when I'm using a sentence from the story, I need to make sure that I'm doing that. I need to take my quotation marks around this sentence that I used, because this isn't my writing. This is the writing from the story. And this is my way of saying, hey, I didn't write this myself. This is where I borrowed from the story. And I mean, it's kind of a little hack here when you're writing, is that when you have a nice big sentence, it makes your writing look even bigger, right? Because I borrowed the whole sentence here, and it's making it look like I wrote a lot. But you know what? This whole part's a quote. I just borrowed this big quote. And it looks like I wrote even more. So it's a little hack right there to get you guys writing a little bit longer when it needs to be. All right, now we got to move on to the next step, which is, I can get there. That was citing textual evidence. Now, and like I just moved all my stuff up because I was running out of space. So I'm going to be at step 4 now, and explain your answer. That's the E stands for erase. So I'm going to explain my answer, or explain my citation. And my citation just means my quote, right? So what does this talk about? How does this and this, how does this answer my question? How does this prove my question? And the question again was, how does my class benefit from a field trip? Well, according to the text, a trip to the aquarium is a great way to observe and learn about sea life. So I'm just going to use one of my sentence starters again. This quote proves that, or this shows me that, or this tells me that, you can use any of those starters for this next part. And this quote proves that if we visit an aquarium, well, we can see marine life in person, right? We're getting hands-on experiences. So we're getting first-hand experience, or you can get a hands-on experience, or you can just say this quote proves that if we visit an aquarium, we can see marine life in person. And that's proving this quote, right? That's what it's talking about. It's a great way to observe and learn about sea life. So I got to be there and see it, which is different than just learning about it in the classroom. We're moving on to step 5, which is sum it up. And our transition for this is just going to say, to sum it up, well, I didn't mean to show you guys the answer, but I'm just going to sum up what I'm arguing here or talking about. That field trips are beneficial for my classroom. That's how I'm summing it up. I'm just writing one last sentence to kind of close it all and tie it all together. So to sum it up, field trips are beneficial for my classroom. And now if I read my whole thing together, and this should be one paragraph in the end. So this right here where it says according to the text, it should be over here after this period. But since I did this on a presentation, it's a little bit off. But let's read it as one whole paragraph and see how it sounds. So my class would benefit from a field trip by learning about things in a different environment from the classroom. According to the text, a trip to the aquarium is a great way to observe and learn about sea life. This quote proves that if we visit an aquarium, we can see marine life in person. To sum it up, field trips are beneficial for my classroom. So did I answer the question? Yes. And let's look it over. Did I restate the question? Yep, because the question was about how does it benefit from a field trip? Did I answer the question? Well, I did, because it's by learning about things in a different environment from the classroom. Did I cite textual evidence? I sure did. A trip to the aquarium is a great way to observe and learn about sea life. And then did I explain my quote? I sure did. This quote proves that if we visit an aquarium, we can see marine life in person. And then finally, did I sum it up? And to sum it up, field trips are beneficial for my classroom. Instead of using the sum it up, we said, clearly, field trips are beneficial for my classroom. So there's different ways or words we can put here. Like finally, or in conclusion, field trips are beneficial for the classroom. So you can use any of those. I mean, if step 5 is S for sum it up, you can even say to sum it up. I just wanted to throw that in there because it's kind of an easy one to remember, especially if you remember what the S stands for in races. So that is it. That's how we do races. We're going to keep practicing this. This is kind of the first one we did. And this is just put on video so that if you guys are confused on what certain steps are, you can kind of see what they look like. All right. Have a good one. Mr. Frida signing out.